Hello friends, welcome to our live webinar. My name is Raphael and I am the convener of RoverX Academy, a community for professionals to learn, network, and grow together. We have 4 academies: Finance Academy, Sales and Marketing Academy, Human Resources Academy, and Supply Chain and Manufacturing Academy. We are simply interested in building a community of lifelong learners, and we are dedicated to being your career and professional compass. You can join us today via bit.ly/join RoverX. See you. Now let's get into the topic of the day.
So Mrs. Oluwatoyin is a senior HR professional with about 17 years of functional work experience in the logistics and hospitality industry. Presently with Nordic Hotels, she manages and coordinates the business and human resource functions. She provides diverse experience, helping businesses to succeed through their people, supporting business executives to focus on end-to-end human capital management, diversity and inclusion, culture, and of course, leadership initiatives to achieve corporate goals. She earned a Bachelor of Science in Economics from Olabisi Onabanjo University and a Master's in Industrial and Personal Relationship from the University of Ibadan. Globally licensed with the Human Resource Certification Institute, GPHR, SPHRI, a full member of Chartered Institute of Personnel Management, CIPM, Nigerian Institute of Training and Development, NITAD, Institute of Leadership, Coaching and Strategy, Nigerian Institute of Management, NIM, and also a life coach and neo-linguistic programming therapist. She's an advocate for people development, peace, inclusion, and well-being for a great workplace experience. She's an active volunteer in several organizations, associations, and institutes in different executive capacity. Please help me welcome Mrs. Oluwatoyin. You're welcome, ma. You can see all of our certifications. A lot has been done. A lot of work has been put into all of this. So moving on is Mr. Emmanuel Abegunde. So Emmanuel is a business executive with vast experience across different industries and has recently carved a niche for himself in the professional service space. He is currently the Chief Operating Officer of Jackson, Etsy and Edu, a top-tier food service firm with operations spread across Africa. Proud to now, he was the head of Human Resources and Administration and served in the HR consulting domain of the management consulting practice at Crestone Pedibo. He holds an inbound marketing certification from HubSpot Academy and PHRI certification with the globally recognized HR Certification Institute. He holds a Bachelor of Arts in German Studies from Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, Nigeria, and an MBA degree from Nexford University with specialization in e-commerce. Mr. Emmanuel has about 13 years experience spanning the consulting, fintech, and oil and gas service industry, where he has been pivotal to the success of several projects, including change management, digital transformation, people transformation, performance engineering, and talent management. He's a prolific trainer and speaker, a published author and blogger with an interest in sharing his knowledge with the younger professionals. He's an adept skill in HR strategy, talent acquisition and development, budget and planning, compensation and benefits, research and data analytics. Help me welcome Mr. Emmanuel to this panel. And of course, our very and final panelists, our very own Mrs. Oluwatoyin Pudicum, always making the mistake. Sincere apologies, ma. So, she is a seasoned human resource professional with career fitness coach with about 20 years of diverse experience across aviation, consulting, insurance, broadcast media, and of course, microfinance banking. She currently serves as a senior people and culture manager at Leshigo Microfinance Bank, part of a Pan-Africa group headquartered in Botswana. A graduate of the University of Ibadan, Ms. Oluwatoyin has held an executive MBA from the Quantic School of Business and Technology. She is an internationally certified senior professional in human resources, a certified career analyst, and a member of several professional bodies, including CIPM and the Institute of Professional Recruitment Consultants. She is the founder of Tony Talk Talent, T3, and the T3 Touch Bearers Academy, platform dedicated to helping young professionals discover, develop, and deploy their natural talents. Her work has earned her recognition as one of the 2024 top 100 power women. Ms. Oluwatoyin authors the popular LinkedIn newsletter, The Talent Guide, followed by over 24,000 readers. She is married to Mr. Akinwande Pudikom, and they are blessed with 5 children. Welcome, ma. Welcome to this discussion today. So I would just like for us to just say a couple of things.
Sorry, Michael.
Oh, moving to
Michael.
Yes,
Michael.
sorry,
Just before we go on, let me quickly make a bit of a correction.
I can hear you.
Mr. Yeah, let me just quickly make a bit of a correction to Mr. Emmanuel Michael's profile. So I will just quickly take that from this end, right?
Okay.
So Emmanuel Michael, regularly or most profoundly known as EM, is a highly respected leadership and career success coach with almost 30 years of experience as a strategic business partner and leader, with a strong background spanning multidisciplinary engineering, information technology, hospitality, and financial services. EM has been a highly sought-after professional in the field of HR management for over 2 decades. He currently serves as the Director of Human Resources at Eco Hotels and Suites, leading a team of HR professionals in fostering a people-first culture at one of Africa's premier hospitality brands. In addition, he is the chair of the HRCI Certification Council, where he plays a pivotal role in advancing global HR standards and professional certification. From March to August 2017, EM served as the interim CEO and head of HR at Letshego MFB, that is Microfinance Bank, a national microfinance bank in Nigeria. As the head of people and culture at Letshego Nigeria, he contributed significantly to the organization's growth and development. EM's vast experience and influence has earned him numerous awards and accolades, including recognition as one of the 100 most influential global HR leaders in 2018 and one of the 101 global HR heroes in the year 2019. He was named a top-rated influencer on the most inclusive HR influencer list by Social Michael in 2019 and recognized as one of the top 50 personalities on LinkedIn in Nigeria the same year. In 2021, EM's contribution to the global HR community was further recognized with several honors, including 501 Most Fabulous Global HR Leaders, Top 8 HR Thought Leaders in Africa, Top 3 Best Revenue Supporting HR, 30 Top Black HR Influencers to follow, Top 50 Career Influencer in Africa, Top 11 HR Leaders to follow. In 2022, he was listed among the 40 HR leaders and innovators in Nigeria to follow, the 122 top CHROs and the top 200 biggest voices in leadership. A subject matter expert with a CIPM Nigeria and HRCI USA, EM is also the founder and host of HR with EM, a platform that provides an opportunity to connect, learn, and share on everything related to leadership, career development, and employee experience. The Nigerian HR community affectionately calls him the HR celebrity. So we can go on now and begin to have our sessions properly. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much, Mr. Raphael. So as I was saying, I would like for every one of us to just give us a brief introduction. Sorry about the echo. So as I was saying, I'd like for everyone to just give us a brief introduction, starting from Mr. Emmanuel Michael. Just a little discussion about what exactly who you are as a person, sir. Nothing too serious, just something light.
Okay, so thank you very much for the introduction. Who I am has been read out in the intro in my bio. So basically, like you all know, currently I serve as the director of HR at Eco Hotel, and I'm the current chair of the HR CI Certification Council in the USA. So all of you who are writing HRCI exams, you know that I sit on the council that is behind what is going on, setting the exams and ensuring that the standards are good, actually say, because we pride ourselves as the gold standard in HR practice and standards. So on the topic that we are sharing today, it talks about workplace bullying, recognition, response, and prevention. So I'll just briefly touch on what this is all about. I think the first place to start is to try to look at what exactly is workplace bullying. Okay? So for me, workplace bullying is not just about shouting, open conflict. People think it's when you shout. Okay? It's what I call repeated harmful behavior. Repeated harmful behavior. And by repeated harmful behavior, I'm basically talking about verbal abuse, exclusion, when you exclude someone, a team member from a particular responsibility or task in the office. That could also be bullied. Humiliation, when you humiliate them, or even subtle sabotage. Sabotage is also, subtle sabotage can also be seen as bullying, you know, when you try to frustrate someone from getting certain things done. So when you do all these things intentionally, and sometimes it could also be unconsciously. Okay? So that's what bullying is all about. So it's important for us to know that holding someone accountable is not bullying. When somebody is supposed to do something and you are holding them accountable for not getting that thing done, that is not bullying. But when it becomes personal, demeaning, and persistent, that's when it begins to cross the line. So maybe the person didn't do what they need to do, and then you now move from just holding them accountable to the point of demeaning their personality. So how do you recognize, what do you call it, bullying? What are the signs? If you are the target, right? If you are the target, you will feel, sometimes you feel anxious, you dread going to meetings, you notice a drop in your confidence, then you know that you are being bullied. And then if you are a colleague or a team leader, you need to look out for red flags, okay? What are the red flags to look out for? Sudden disengagement. You notice that somebody is disengaged, withdrawn, emotional changes in high-performing staff. Then you know something is really wrong. Sometimes bullying hides under jokes. You know, people just crack some jokes. It could be bullying, okay? So I've talked about the exclusion, maybe excluding people from certain meetings. How should you respond, okay? When you find yourself being bullied, how should you respond? One major thing that is very important is the need for you to document what happened. What is that is happening? Document it. Document the dates, document the times, document who was present when that thing happened. So I have situations in the office where people come to me and say, this person is bullying me. I need to walk them through to describe for me exactly what happened, when, and who was there. So that will enable me to be able to assess whether truly they are being bullied or not. Okay. Then the second thing is you need to talk. You need to talk to someone you trust or report it via a proper channel if the organization has a channel for reporting. And then if you feel safe, okay, if you feel safe, let's say the person is your peer, it's not someone that would somehow is more powerful than you in that organization. There is the need for you to assert yourself calmly. Okay? Assert, you need to call the person out. Call it out and look, this thing that you're doing, I feel I'm being bullied and all that. Okay, and then for you who is in the office, let's say you are a witness when the bullying takes place. What do you do? If you witness bullying, don't ignore it. Okay, don't ignore it. Support the person who is being bullied, and if needed, help to speak up or report that particular issue. So what happens is that bullying thrives in organizations where people are silent. So silence empowers bullies. In order to prevent it, there is need to build what I call respectful workplaces. So for organizations need to have clear policies, need to have in place anonymous reporting system or tool, okay? And then the leadership from the CEO or the MD need to show leadership by example. They need to model the kind of behavior, model that respect, how to treat their peers. So the way the CEO or the MD treats his peers or his colleagues or direct reports on the meeting will dovetail on how these HODs will also treat the people who work with them. Then as an individual, what do we need to do in order to prevent it? We need to practice what I call empathy. We need to be empathetic. We need to speak up when someone or something feels wrong. We need to model kindness, even in very difficult conversations. So it doesn't matter what your title is. There is need for us to set the tone for how people will treat each other. So that's my intro on the topic. Thank you. Are we still there?
Yes, sir, we're together.
Okay.
So, good evening. My name is David. I'm the HR Academy Manager 1, and I think I would just want us to just go straight to the question so we can have enough time to ponder and also discuss. So, I'll be asking Mrs. Toyin Podikom my first question. And the question says, should workplace bullies be blacklisted from future employment like sex offenders?
Hello, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm Oluwatoyin Podikom. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak on this matter today. Obviously, it's a very sensitive one, and EM has done a very good job in laying the foundation for us. Now, the question I'm being asked is, should workplace bullies be put like an blacklisted or put like on a list like, sex offenders? The truth is that when it comes to things that affect people psychologically and emotionally, like bullying does, it's not always a very clear-cut response. Why? Because there's perception involved. What do I mean by that? I mean, if you can objectively determine that somebody's being bullied, you can do that. On the other hand, it could be somebody's perception. I perceive that I'm being bullied. And these come from all sorts of background, traumas, etc., etc. So while the subject of blacklisting, there's an intent to protect employees and foster safe work environments, there are very nuanced challenges that one may have to navigate if one is considering doing something like that. I don't think that is being done formally anywhere, but it's something that one would consider so that we don't have these individuals that perpetuate these kind of behaviors in the different organizations they work in. So what do we do instead? I think, in my opinion, I would say that a part of the things that EM has mentioned that individuals themselves can take it upon themselves. The safest and I think most effective in the long term would be a systemic approach to addressing workplace bullying, in which case it would be a question of prevention rather than cure. So that when we're talking about cure, it's on a case-by-case basis as opposed to it being something that we react to. So essentially, I'm saying we need to be proactive in addressing things like bullying. I will add at this point that in our own context, that's Nigerian culture, but that's the African culture, it tends to be very not as easy because we are reared and trained to sort of respect, submit to authority and whatnot. So bullying may not actually be something that we would recognize immediately because by nature or by training, we tend to respect people in authority over us. So in order for people like us, HR professionals, who recognize that these things do tend to happen and can be abused in the workplaces, especially under the umbrella, would I say, of our culture, it has to be something that we integrate into the workplace culture in the organization to ensure that everyone, let's say, practices or takes the position that things like bullying are not permitted in this workspace. and that would I say would make it such that we wouldn't have a situation where we're talking about blacklisting individuals, because I mean, why? You are saying in essence that there is no redemption for this person. Once a bully, always a bully. And even in real life, where some of us who were bullied, maybe as in secondary school, primary school, whatnot, were saying that we expect that those individuals will never change. So by blacklisting them, you have condemned them to a state of being that will never evolve. So I would say let's focus instead on creating cultures that model the kind of behaviors we want to see, which one of them will be no bullying. So place that in your policies, do your training awareness, and do that often. Let it even be part of your interview process when you are bringing in new managers, whether you're bringing them in at the interview stage or training them for higher responsibility of the organization. Just to exactly, thank you very much, K-Baz, who says cultural fit test, ensuring that they recognize that this is a no-no within the organization. Of course, you have cases where you create channels where employees can also dial in anonymously to report things like that. But like I said, I think that prevention, I think, rather is a better approach than in quote cure. Let me peg it at this point so that my other panelists can have a say as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Toyin. We appreciate you for that. Please, if there's anyone who has a question, you can drop your question at the chat box so we can actually read it out for our panelists to discuss. So thank you very much for sharing your insight on that. So my next question is directed to Mrs. Toyin Akako, which says, can HR departments be complicit in workplace bullying when the bully is a top performer or senior executive?
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity and thank you for the question. Am I being heard?
Yes, we can.
Yes, ma, clearly.
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. Thank you. So you asked if the HR department can be complicit in workplace bullying, even when the bullying question happens to be a top performer or even the senior executive. I'll mention, when EM was doing the introduction, he stressed the fact that it even starts from the top, the leadership. What do they really want, right? Unfortunately, or I would say sadly, it is possible that you can even have the HR department in such a situation, right? Because you are actually looking at it that you are not pointing the right person, you are not taking, speaking to the issue, but you are trying to protect whoever the senior executive is, right? Which should not be. The HR are the holders of the values. They are the holders of the policies and procedure. The HR department and the team should be the guidance to all these processes and procedures and all this policy we are talking about. So it is not enough to say that we have all these anti-harassment and we have all these anti-bully policy and not even bringing them to life. So it's not about we having those policies, it's about making them real, making them live, acting them when the situation arises. Because the HR, if that's what I said, it is possible, but that should not be the case of the HR department, whoever it is. So that's why I said it's about what do we really want as an organization? Because if it is the HR that is now being a complicit to the workplace bullying, then it means everyone is not safe. People cannot breathe. People cannot be themselves. it will definitely affect eventually what you are protecting, what are you running from. You will eventually enjoy it, even in a very, very large, in a large form. In a very, very large form. So it is, yeah, an HR can be, but that should not be the case. You cannot look away at all times. We say when you see something, you say something, right? So you cannot just be a bystander in any way. As the HR department, it should not be the case that you are now protecting. What are you protecting? Are you for the business? If you really love the business, if you really want the business to succeed, that senior executive or the top performer, without that person, if the person resigns today, the business will continue. So what are you running away from? What is the fear? What is the fear? You know, it could, if there had not been policies or guidelines, that could be a way of even being an accomplice to workplace bully. So the first is even ensure that you have guidelines, you have proper policies, you have it clear, alive. I mean, live documents, not just in paper. At every time, as you know, Tony mentioned earlier, at the beginning of all the phase, and not just at the beginning when you are bringing them in, you know, putting it into the recruitment questions and all that. When they come, let it be that you are even all through the process, repeatedly, continuously. Let it be on their face that this is what we stand for. This is where we stand. At all times, let it be that it is clear, irrespective of who the person is. Irrespective of who the person is. When you say no, it is no. So when the HR department is now retaliating, okay, when they talk about how, oh, there is a complaint that has been mentioned, and instead of, you know, making that confidential, you are now saying, oh, this person, he had mentioned this. Those are ways in which the HR department could be complicit to bullying. But at all times, as the holder of this document, of the workplace culture, or how people would feel, that should not be. Let it be that all the policies are alive. And then, regardless of who the person is, once there is a complaint, there's no little complaint. There is no little, oh, it's just a play. There's nothing like play. As long as it is being reported, it should be taken seriously. And when everybody sees that, oh, this person has been disciplined, it will have effect on subsequent ones. Everybody will, this is not allowed. So what do we really allow? What do we really allow? So the HR should not even be there to even have to say, oh, yeah, I'm trying to protect the company. So, because eventually, if that person resigns, what will happen? What are you now protecting? Or even if it is in executive leadership, it's about standing. You know, it's not just about, oh, I'm an HR person, I'm in the HR department. When standing the test of time, when issues come, are you able to be firm in the conversation? Is to be firm in the conversation, so that no matter what the pressure is from the executive leaders of the organization, no matter what the pressure is, you're able to say, this is the rule. We do not allow this. We do not allow this. You know, it's about being ethical at all times. When an allegation is being raised, right, take it seriously, because it can be you. It can be someone that you know. It can be because the person leaves the organization and gets to another organization. It could be where you have your relation, you have your own, you know, your brother, sister, sibling, or every other person. So at all time, regardless of who the person is, when the HR, you know, the HR should not protect anybody, any bully, at all level, either in the senior role, in the junior role, at any time, at any level. At any level, because the culture will be affected, the well-being of people will be affected. They won't be able to breathe. They won't be able to be productive. You can say you are running what you are running from. You will still meet it. So face your fear. So there should not even be any fear in any way, right? Let me stop by that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma. Suluwatoyin. Really appreciate that. So, Mr. Emmanuel, Abegunde, so just have a very simple one for you, sir. And it goes, what do you advise should be the best response to all consistent acts of bullying?
Come again, please.
What do you advise should be the first response to all consistent actions of bullying?
Okay. Thank you very much. And good evening once again, everyone. What do I advise to consistent act of bullying? Number one, I think we even need to determine what is consistent. How many times should it happen before you say this is consistent? Right. I think that is very important. It's a very important place to start from. How many occurrences is consistent enough, right, before you start reacting? I think immediately you spot that someone is bullying you, maybe twice, right? You should look at what is available in the context of the organization. Just like Tony Akapo said, are there policies in place, are there processes in place to escalate such grievances to the management? So are you meant to talk to your line manager first? Are you meant to go to your HR first? Or do you, I know that there are some offices that still have this box, right? This anonymous box where you can put in your grievances. For some other organizations, they have email addresses that you can address this to, and someone up there will take it up. So the first thing to do, right, is to escalate the matter. Another thing you can do, right, if you experience consistent acts of bullying, is to what's it called now? Walk up to the bully. At certain times, someone may actually not know that they are bullying you, if you get what I'm saying. It is not impossible that someone just comes across as picking on you, right? And the person may just be doing their own thing. So you can walk up to the bully and let them know that you do not appreciate the way they are talking to you. If it is in terms of speaking communication, it could also be in terms of how they pick on you in meetings, or maybe they sabotage your efforts, or probably they exclude you from certain meetings, certain projects, and things like that. Let the bully be aware that you understand what is being done to you and you do not appreciate it. Now, what does that do for you? In cases whereby the person is doing it unconsciously, you have made a conscious effort on your own part to let them know what they are doing and you don't appreciate it. In cases where the person is doing it consciously, their feedback then informs the next line of action for you, which could then be the escalation that I spoke about in the first instance. But never let it be that you are being bullied and you keep quiet about it. The way we advise people, start dusting your CV, and things like that. What happens if you get to another organization and then you meet another kind of bully? You've denied yourself the experience of knowing how to handle bullies. That's what has happened. So talk about it, right? Confront the person if it's someone you can confront. If not, report using the appropriate format. And lastly, I would say that most organizations actually have processes in place to address this, but more often than not, we see that people don't look at these processes. For instance, there's grievance policy in most handbooks, right? Sometimes if we don't look at the contract of our employment, the policies in place in our workplace, you don't know that these things exist and you are not able to exploit them when need be. So those are some of the things that you can do. Yes, and to add one more thing, you can also speak to that person's superior. So let's say a manager, for instance, is the bully. If you have a senior manager, right, whom the person respects or whom everybody respects, you can take the matter up to them and say, this is happening. I mean, if you are not comfortable with the HR team, right, to discuss this, probably they are complicit, like Tony addressed earlier, right? You can take it up to someone high up there in management. Let it be that you escalated, and let it also be that your escalation is documented, so that in cases whereby a disciplinary hearing is held, you can tender all your evidences, right, of escalation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Really appreciate that. So please, can we answer our questions in just about 2 minutes, because we have quite a number of questions, and I'm very sure that the audience would love to ask a couple of questions too. So a 2 minutes cap will be well appreciated. So for Mr. Emmanuel Michael, are you with us, sir?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, perfect, sir. So I would like to know, is it fair to call someone a bully if their behavior stems from... Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, perfect. Is it fair to call someone a bully if their behavior stems from undiagnosed trauma or mental health issues? You get that, sir? Hello, Mr. Emmanuel Michael. Sorry, can anyone hear me?
Hello, sorry, I can hear you now.
Okay, no problem, sir.
Come again with the question, please.
Okay, sir. So I was asking, is it fair to call someone a bully if their behavior stems from undiagnosed trauma or mental health issues?
Okay. That's a very thoughtful question. So, incidentally, I have seen something like this several times in some previous organizations where I've worked. So my answer is that yes, it is fair to call the behavior, right? Not the person. It's fair to call the behavior bullying. Even though, yes, because the person who is bullying the other, because they are suffering from trauma or they have some sort of mental challenge. So there is need to separate the person separate the behavior from the individuals or the person's works. Okay? So what I'm saying is that understanding why the person is behaving that way does not excuse that particular conduct. Okay? Understanding why the person is behaving that way does not excuse the conduct. So trauma, whether they're suffering from trauma or mental health issues, this might explain why the person is behaving or why the person behaves harmfully, but it doesn't justify, okay? It does not justify that they continue to harm others. I've had situations where someone said that he feels people are talking about him, and then he's not fighting everybody within the organization. So you don't excuse that. Okay? Even if a person didn't mean to hurt someone, okay, or lacks self-awareness due to their trauma, or is navigating, or that he or she is navigating mental health challenges, the important thing is that the impact of that behavior still exists, and that is what we need to address. Okay, so targets of bullying still feel unsafe, disrespected, and diminished. So you won't say because this person has a mental issue, so they should go ahead and continue to bully people around. That's not acceptable. So a more fair and constructive framing would be to label that behavior, okay, not the identity, because the identity now is that this person has trauma or they are suffering from mental. So we need to label the behavior. So instead of saying this person is a bully, there is need for us to say that this behavior is bullying and needs to stop. So I think I've already talked about walking up to the person, and maybe the person doesn't know that what they're doing is bullying you. Okay, so there's need to address that. And then we need to encourage support for that particular person and not shame them, right? So the organization can, and what we have done is, in the cases of the organization where I've worked, is actually to, first of all, get a mental, a doctor or a psychologist to sit with them and try to address what is it that is going in their heads, that's making them treat the people that are working with them where they are treating them. Okay? So there's need for the organization to offer that support, provide access to mental health support, coaching, or counseling for the person who is exhibiting that particular behavior without tolerating them continue to further harm people within the organization. So for the organization, the objective should be to protect the victim first, always. Protect the victim first, always, okay? So the psychological safety of every other person must come first. And that's why we need to address the behavior. Okay? So that's basically what I wanted to say. So bottom line, what I'm saying is that we can hold people accountable for their behavior while still holding a space for their healing. So we are trying to help them overcome that mental health situation or trauma that they have gone through, but we need to hold them accountable for their behavior. Because they are going through a mental disease, it doesn't mean that it should now destroy everything and make everyone feel unsafe in the organization. So that's basically my answer. So I'm saying yes, you can hold them accountable. So I don't know if I've been able to answer your question.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Emmanuel. You did justice to that. So we have a question in our chat box here that will be directed to you before you leave. If an employee reports a bullying incident involving my direct line manager, what is the appropriate protocol I should follow as an HR representative to ensure the compliance is handled objectively and fairly?
Okay. So you remember in my intro, I talked about document. Documentation is very critical. So you need to be able to know the date when the incident took place, the specific action. I've had situations where several employees walk up to me and say, my manager is bullying me, this. And, so I then need to sit them down and then try to find out, okay, when you say bullying, what exactly? The person must be able to say exactly what is it that happened, describe that behavior. So documentation is very critical. So when you document the behavior, the date and time when it happened, usually sometimes there will be people present when it happened. So that information is what I will then take, right? And then sit with this particular line manager to, first of all, identify or understand if they even know that this behavior that they are exhibiting is an act of bullying, okay? And that is making people around them feel unsafe. So that is what I have done in my previous organizations or in the organizations where I've worked. And that is how I will address it. And usually, most times, you get these managers here and say, no, I'm doing this because, these people, you need to shout at them, you need to shake them a little bit. That's when you get them to work. If you don't shake them, then they will not be able to work. So he or she might not know that this shaking them is actually an act of bullying and is not acceptable. And because we already have a policy, okay, within the organization, so it makes it easy for me to draw the person's attention by taking them through again to define what bullying is, so they can understand that behavior that they're exhibiting is an act of bullying. So that will be the first thing to do to address the issue. And then I continue to observe this line manager. If the incident repeats itself, then we move into a disciplinary action where we then have to have an expanded conversation with the person's line manager now. So let's say the person reports to the MD. So now there has to be a conversation, HR, MD, and this person. And then we document that, and the disciplinary action would have to be taken. So I don't know if I've helped that particular person who asked the question.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Michael. I'm sure Adewale Umibi must have taken note of that already. So my next question is going to Mrs. Toyin Pudicom. So I'll be asking that, should employees record private conversations to gather evidence of bullying, even if it breaks company's policy or local law?
Okay, so when I was thinking about my response to this question, I thought to myself, this is one of those things we call jam questions. Because on the one hand, if you're looking at the emotional and the psychological side of things, you would say most definitely, if that's the only way to gather evidence that you're actually being bullied and it's affecting you in this profoundly negative way, then go ahead, by all means, record, and we'll see how we can ethically use the recording, and in a way that we can take into account data privacy laws, etc., etc. I mean, you could go that route, but on the face of it, you will notice when we first started that Raphael said that he wanted everyone's consent for the recordings to take place before he recorded because of these data privacy laws, and they do exist for a reason. So while I will say that it is not a straightforward yes or a straightforward no in the one, but I would lean no. Though obviously different scenarios or different contexts would possibly warrant different approaches. But like I said, data privacy laws exist for a reason. And in fact, in some certain spaces, it is completely illegal. And they will say that it is inadmissible in the court of law if that recording took place, without the consent of the parties involved. And as HR professionals, we must not encourage any illegal activity, right? It may seem justified emotionally, but I said it's contextual. I saw a message from Ian. He said that if he feels his life is being threatened, he will record. And I mentioned, yes, I agree that in some specific contexts, you may feel that that is your only option. But if I'm going to give a blanket response, I would say that avoid violating data privacy laws, because what that does is that it makes you can't always ascertain that people are not saying I feel threatened because they can. Let me give you an example of what I mean. Some time ago, we had the word concept, a trend that they called quiet quitting, where Gen Z people, most the millennials, are talking about, they kind of check out of the organization even before they physically leave. I mean, it wasn't anything new. As far as we know, we already know what disengagement meant, but they gave it this interesting moniker, and it kind of took, and everybody was talking about it. In some cases, there would have been genuine reasons. In other cases, there would have been reasons that were that people just came up with, and so it would be a slippery slope to open the door and say, go ahead and do that if your life feels threatened. I would say that in the instant, that should be at the instant of the individual, if they do believe that their life is being threatened, their career is being threatened in a profound way. If they took that action and it was assessed to be so, then evidently that recording would be used appropriately. But as a blanket response, I would say, let it not be a default response to such cases. Because, to be honest, in some cases, it is like the only proof to show that the person is really being threatened. And the instinct for self-protection in anyone would be valid. So what would I say HR should do instead? rather than focus on whether recording secretly is right or wrong, I would ask myself, why did the employee feel that the only way to be heard is to break a policy or a data privacy law? What trust gaps exist in the system that prevent the things that we've put in place from working the way they should? And are we enabling a culture of silence? Are we creating an environment where people can talk? So while I say it's not a cut and dried response, however, I would go back to what I said in the beginning is look for prevention methods rather than cure. Yes, when they do happen, we will have to address it, and based on the specific incident, appropriate action will be taken when you consider all the information that's available. But as an HR professional, I would say to myself, let me look for ways to alternative ways to gather evidence. Documentation has been stressed, so I won't overflog that particular issue. I've already talked about training as well, and I've talked about policy. However, if employees feel safer breaking rules and using HR, the problem isn't just the bullying. There's also a problem with the system that is meant to stop it. So while I wouldn't go ahead and say, you know what, do what you've got to do, because these laws do exist for a reason, I will own that in specific circumstances, which will be adjudged by the parties involved. In some cases, that might have been considered a necessary action on the part of the victim of the bullying. Thank you.
Thank you very much, man. Thank you very much. Interestingly, Mr. Emmanuel Michael said in his own opinion, if he feels threatened, he would record. Well, in the end, I think he agrees with you. So thank you very much, man. So my next question will be for Mrs. Toyin Akakpo. So the question is, if a bullied employee commits suicide, should the organization and the bully face criminal charges?
Oh, goodness. Thank you. But we do not even pray to get to that extent, right?
Yes, ma'am.
A bullied, am I being heard?
Yes, ma'am, clearly.
Okay. If a bullied employee eventually commits suicide, that is deep. That is deep. Should the organization and the bully face criminal charges? Very complex, I would say, because yes, it's not just about now a life has even been lost. Now, what is the face of the organization, right? So many factors. As long as, yes, maybe even in Nigeria we may not directly have strong laws, but we are still guided by international laws in dealing with things. But what, if eventually happens, if the bullied employee commits suicide, right? Should the organization and the bully face criminal charges? It's so many things in this kind of situation, right? Before we can even say they should face their laws, have we done what needs to be done, right? Do we have guidelines? Do we have, yes, it was a battle now. Should we have evidence? Evidence is really critical, right, in things like this, because they'll say you explain, tire, no evidence, right? But in things like this is really, it's a criminal negligence. How did you get here in the first place? How did you even get here in the first place? How do we even get here in the first place? So is there any link? Is there any link? Is there any link between whoever they have identified as the bully and the person that had even committed suicide? Do they have any, evidence that is clear that you can really say that, this has been a pattern, this has been what has been happening? So how can the organization be identified with such acts? Are we just, is the organization just looking away that, oh, that person will be fine? So if there is no traces, if there's no direct link with the organization, and how did we even get here? How did we even get here? Bullying is a deadly thing. It's a deadly thing, and it's, as Toyin P had mentioned, it's better to prevent it than even looking at what should we even do. You can imagine, it can cost people's life. It can cost people their own life. And where would the organization face in that kind of situation? Right? So it's really a criminal act. It's a criminal. If there is a direct link to say that, yes, this has been happening, this has been reported, these are people that had mentioned this, and now people don't keep quiet anymore. It is a collective responsibility. You may be surprised that someone that knows the senior advocate of Nigeria will just take it up and say, so it's really a collective responsibility by everybody in the organization. So when we see it, when we see traces, we act. Everything, I would say, and if you are not comfortable, you don't know how that person is feeling. As long as person, I'm not feeling, this is how I feel about this. I feel this. It is valid. Everybody's feelings are valid. Everybody's feelings are valid. They are valid. So if there had been cases of, these are reports, these are people that, what have you done so far? Is it that you just throw them into trash, or all these things are important? We have rules. Are we following them? So it's everybody's responsibility. It's really to prevent it, because it's about what we what the environment will be. It's better to prevent it than look for, where should the organization face? How would an organization want to be looked at when we say, XYZ organization is being taken to court on something, or it's better, it's cheaper, it's safer. It is safer to have it that we are preventing it. Let it be clear, this is what we stand for. These are the things that we tolerate. These are the things that we do not allow at all. So it's easier to really say that we say no, and we say it when we mean it. Not sometimes, but at all times. At all times. It's a criminal. As long as if there can be a link, if you can have evidence that it is linked, yes, they can be charged. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma. Thank you very much. So, Mr. Emmanuel, a very good day. We have a question for you, sir.
Yes, sir.
So the question goes thus: can we truly eliminate workplace bullying in a capitalistic system that rewards domination, speed, and survival of the fittest? Did you get that, sir?
Yes. Thank you for the question. Can we truly eliminate workplace bullying? What we can and cannot do, it's how do I put it now? It depends on what the organization stands for. Sorry, I have my champions here coming to distract me. Pardon me. Okay, just take this. A minute, please.
Okay. You can let us know what their thoughts are. Maybe they have response to what was asked.
Coco Melon will handle the rest. So as I was saying, the question is it possible to eliminate, right? Is that the question? Is it possible?
Yes, sir, exactly.
Okay. Is it possible? Well, I think it's a yes or no answer, if you ask me. What is possible and what is not possible is dependent on the organization culture. What is the culture of the organization? We have said capitalist in nature, the reward speed, yada, yada. If I hear the question correctly, the reward speed, and all. But even in the midst of that we are pursuing profit, right, does not mean that the culture of accountability, right, cannot be put in place in that organization. So I think it depends on the company's leadership to determine to what extent they want to ensure that people are not being bullied, right, in that organization. They want to ensure that that organization is not toxic. The truth is, in most organizations that are very profit driven, I mean, I want to believe that most organizations are, but just for the lack of better word to explain, they are very profit driven. You see some doses here and there of toxicity, right? But you also have a lot of organizations out there. I mean, for instance, a publicly listed organization will try as much as possible to ensure that they are not having bad report and scandals stemming from their corporate offices that can drop their share capital. So in such organizations, you'll see them putting uptight policies in place, right, to address things like this. So I think it is a matter of whether or not the board or the leadership of the organization wants to curtail incidences of bullying. I want to ensure that their organization is a great place to work, other than just profit driven and we don't care, we make the money, just go out and make the money, right? And there are cases, right, of different kinds of organizations, both home and abroad, that have been able to go through some form of cultural transformation, that that in the past this organization is a toxic environment, and now you want to work there because they've gone through some form of transformation or the other. Whereas there are some other organizations that the leadership doesn't just care. So it's a matter of what leadership wants. If leadership wants it, then I tell you it will be done. Simply put, if leadership wants it, then it will be done. We want zero tolerance for bullying, zero tolerance for toxicity. It will be done. And if leadership encourages bullying, then there is nothing anybody really can do about it. I think I'll drop the pen there.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Emmanuel. So before I direct my next question, I'd like to take a question from the chat box here that says, from Aditola Arua, where do we draw the line in a scenario where we have a lead who does not compromise on excellence and he or she is trying to get a report to work optimally, but this is seen as bullying? Unfortunately, the line manager may be the rather verbal or loud one. So I'm directing this question to Mrs. Toyin Pudikom.
Okay, thank you. It was very interesting because I was going to take a lead from what Emmanuel Abigune said about the organizations and whether or not they can completely eliminate bullying because they're capital driven. Because of situations like this that you mentioned, I don't think that you can actually eliminate bullying because we are people leaders, right? And we've already acknowledged that people do have their traumas, they have their backgrounds, they have things that have happened to them in the past that inform their current behavior. So whether it's intentional or unintentional, like EM put in such a fantastic context when he was discussing it, these things would eventually happen. And as Emmanuel Abigudi said, leadership is going to be the one to determine how far it will go. I would say on the other side, one of the things that we could encourage in individuals, maybe people that we tend to mentor or people that we tend to speak to, is resilience. People have become very intolerant of certain things. And I agree that there's certain things that shouldn't be tolerated. But I think the focus should be, what am I coming to the organization to accomplish? What do I want to gain from here? And that should somehow guide as to how long I stay, because I'm here to gain a specific thing. Once I gain that thing and I feel that the environment isn't conducive in the that bullying space, then I'm obviously mapping my exit as the next thing. Now you have a line manager who is stating that I want excellence, and because of that, they are being very particular about some certain reports. I think for me, it's, people matters are very intricate, they're nuanced. It's possible that this individual has come from a space where they managed people who drop the ball so often that they gain the habit of being extremely particular in order to accomplish what they wanted to get. And because of that, they brought that behavior to the new organization. And now this new set of line reports are the ones suffering the consequences. The way I would say it is this: if there's a conversation that can take place with the manager, if that individual can give the parameters of what they consider excellence, what exactly do you want this specific report or whatever it is? What is the outcome you desire? Paint us a picture of what exactly you want, so that as we are working, we are taking that into consideration, so that at the end of the day, it is evident that we are either close what you want as the outcome or far away from what you have from the outcome, rather than waiting for the reports to do the thing and then you tell them how bad it is. They should go back and do it again and throw it at them or shout at them or whatever the case may be. I think the conversation has to be a question of, sir, can you, or madam, can you let us know what exactly the outcome you desire is, so that when we are working, we have that in mind. I think the conversation is warranted with that line manager in those days where they are not very, when the emotions are a little bit less apparent and they are less vocal. That the idea is that we want as a team to accomplish this thing, so that it is evident that we are doing a good job as a team. So if we are clearer on what it is that you want, then we are less prone to making mistakes. And then maybe they could take another look at their SOPs, right? In terms of what exactly do we do to gain, what's the ABC we do to get the EFG, right? If this is the standard expected to deliver to whatever other department or team or whatever, then you are churning out the same standard every time until you decide, okay, we want to innovate this way, or we want to amend it this way, we want to change it this way. In that way, we'll have less shouting and more consistent delivery. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Toyin. So my next question is going to Mr. Emmanuel Michael, and I'll be saying, how can HR professionals protect themselves from corporate bullying? So I also want to stress this question a little bit by saying that I know that HR professionals are support systems for employees, but who supports HR when they are facing stress, burnout, or even bullying from leadership or other staffs? How do you protect your own mental well-being when you are caught in the middle of an organizational conflict? So let me cite an instance now. For instance, if like a senior leadership in a business is being bullied, maybe perhaps a CEO or a director who expects HR to cover for his toxic behavior, silence complaints, or manage out employees who speak up, how do you navigate those ethically gray areas? And what boundaries do you set for yourself as an HR professional?
Thank you very much. So usually we say HR is for the other people. So who is for HR? HR should also be for HR. That's how I like to start. So I know that HR professionals, for us, our role is how do I put it now? There's a way the Ulrich put it. He said I've just forgotten the words. Okay, but basically what I'm trying to say is that our role, in our role, we walk a delicate tightrope. When I say we walk a delicate tightrope, we are there to support employees, but at the same time, just like you shared in the question, we are also responsible for upholding the company interest. Okay, so we want to make sure that the company interest is upholded, but in addition, we also want to make sure that the employees are supported. So because we are playing these dual roles, so it leaves us sometimes vulnerable to corporate bullying. Like the example you've just shared, okay? When we challenge very powerful figures within the organization or push for ethical practices. There's one organization where I worked where I said, okay, this is the way we need to get things. They say, no, we don't do things that way. So the CEO had to sit me down and say, okay, let me share with you. I know you've been raising this issue, raising that issue, but that's not the way we do it here. There is a reason why we don't do it the normal way. You get it? So you can find yourself in such situation. So how do you protect yourself from corporate bullying? I would like to go back to what I shared from the beginning during my intro. Number one, document everything always. You can never run away from documenting things. That's what will save you. Okay? So I've had situations where I would say, let's do certain things in a certain way, and my manager, CEO will say, no, I don't want it done that way. I go and document it. By the time I document it and it gets back to him or her to now confirm that, yes, this is the instruction that they're asking me to take. So sometimes this person will now think back, this thing that has been reduced to writing now, it has some sort of weighty implications and they might be held accountable or responsible for it. And then sometimes they change their minds. So document everything always. Keep detailed records of conversation, especially verbal warnings or pushbacks, instructions, keep detailed records of instructions that go against policy or ethics. So if you are asked to do something that goes against policy or ethics, document it, okay? And get them to be the one to authorize those things to be done. So you are off the hook. You recommend something, but let them now be the one to counter. So sometimes I've written reports where I take it to my CEO and say, please approve. You say, no, this thing you have recommended, I want it done differently. And I say, you know what? You are the CEO, so you have the power to change whatever I've recommended. So this is my recommendation. If you don't agree with my recommendation, just write on this same document that you don't agree with my recommendation and this is what you want us to do. So you see with that, when somebody picks up the document and reads through, you will see that I've already made my own recommendation, which is the right thing to do. But because he or she doesn't want us to go that way, they want to go their own way, let them put it in writing and then they become 100% liable. And I had one particular situation where something like that happened. When it backfired, the CEO didn't have to come to me. After that incident, every time I made a recommendation, the CEO was forced to just follow because they didn't want the embarrassment that they got the first time, okay? So keep detailed records of every unreasonable demands or threat. Use time-stamped emails or internal memos. When I send an email, right, there is this function about read, received, and delivery report. I always activate it. So I have evidence. Because sometimes you can send a message and the person refuses to respond to you. So you need to have evidence that this message was sent at a particular time, it was delivered, it was read, and the person did not, and then you keep those as backup. Okay? So documentation is your shield as an HR person. Then the second thing is that you need to know your policies inside out. As the HR professional, you must master that policy. Be intimately familiar with your grievance procedure, your whistleblower protection policy, conflict of interest protocols. If none exist or they are vague, you should, as the HR professional, because you are the expert in that field, advocate for their creation. What protects others must protect HR as well. Okay, so that's something you need to know. Number 3, Build a support network. Build a support network inside the organization and outside the organization. So don't just die in silence. Make sure you have people outside, professionals that you can talk to. Okay? Have people internally as well that you can talk to. Maybe somebody at the board level that you can talk to. Okay? Somebody senior. So cultivate allies in leadership, in compliance, or legal. So sometimes you need to get the legal man. So, okay, this is what we want to do. Let's ask the legal person. And then the legal person, can we have your legal opinion on this step that we want to take? And they will also share their own view. Join external HR associations or peer groups, like we have them several here in Nigeria. Okay? Get a mentor or get a coach who understands the corporate landscape. When you isolate yourself, you will suffer. So isolation is a bully's ally. Okay? Connection is your defense. Number 4, there is need for you to speak truth to power strategically. You don't just speak truth to power for the sake of speaking. You need to speak strategically. And when I say strategically, when you are challenging unethical practices, you must be tactful. You must be tactful. Focus on risk mitigation. Try to show how this thing is going to impact our reputation. How this thing we want to do is going to show us as not being compliant. Okay? Then you also need to be firm. Don't apologize for upholding the policy. If the policy says X, don't go say, excuse me, sir, I'm sorry, I want to. No, what are you apologizing for? You need to be firm. Just go straight. The policy that we have says X, Y, Z. And this thing that you're asking us to do actually goes against the policy, right? So use what I call the courage and data combo. Use what I call the courage and data combo. So speak confidently, back your stance with evidence. So I've had a situation where I had to go and get copies of the law. There was something I wanted to get corrected in one organization where I work. And the chief accountant was saying, no, this is the way we've been doing it. We've been existing for so many years. It has been like this, that no, we cannot accept. And I printed the laws, quoted the different section, and said, this is what we need to do in accordance with this law. Copied his superiors. At the end of the day, he had no choice but to say, okay, let's go ahead. Okay? So one thing you need to know is that power respects clarity, not emotion. Don't go there being very emotional as HR person. No. Show them the facts. Provide backups, okay? So power respects clarity, not emotion. Number 5, invest in your own mental and emotional health. You hardly will see me not smiling at work. I might be dishing out a very serious sanction, but I will dish it out nicely, So I've tried to master my emotion, master my mental state so that it doesn't affect me. So HR is emotionally demanding. That's something you need to know. Because it's emotionally demanding, what do? You need to protect your boundaries. Don't take toxicity home. I used to tell people in my office that as soon as I close from the office, I close the office. I go out, I don't remember anything about the office. If you call me, I'll tell you until I get back to the office before I remember. I close it. Okay? So I don't take toxicity home. Protect your peace. And how do you protect your peace? If you need to go for therapy, well, journaling or reflection, I love to sleep. Whenever something disturbs me, I just knock off. That helps me to protect my peace, okay? Then protect your growth as well. And when I talk about protecting your growth, you must continually upskill yourself, okay? Upskilling, make sure you have several options to address different, and also have options for yourselves, okay? A healthy HR leader models what they advocate. So you must be an example of what you are asking people to do or what you are advocating for that particular organization. Number 6, know when to escalate or exit. They say if you've done all things, I think there's a portion in the Bible that says stand. When you've done everything, just stand, right? So there will be a time where you've done all things, you've escalated, and things are still not working. Then you need to have an exit plan. So for those of you who have been to my YouTube channel, I have one video where I talked about exit plan. Every employee must have an exit plan from day one. So that your exit plan that you have from day one is something you might likely fall back to. when the need arises, okay? So if systematic or systemic bullying persists and leadership refuses to act, recognize when it's time to escalate or walk away. So I've had situations where I've walked away from some organizations because they were not doing what they are supposed to do. So I felt, then why do you need me? You don't need me here because I'm of no value to you. If all my recommendations, you're just throwing them to the dustbin. So it's time for me to, and then because you already have an exit plan, you've made sure that if you don't have a job for the next 6 months, for the next 1 year, you will, your upkeep will not be impacted, okay? So you easily walk away. Your duty is to safeguard people, including yourself. So don't just focus on helping other people. Also make sure you safeguard yourself. No job is worth your dignity or mental health. So in summary, what I'm saying is that HR must never be the company's moral scapegoat. Don't be a scapegoat. Don't be the company's emotional punching bag. Okay? So you are not just an enforcer, you are a protector, you are a culture shaper, and you are also a professional with rights. So that's something you need to know. So that's my answer to that particular question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Emmanuel. Michael, you took your time to actually dissect that. I really appreciate. So now that my colleague, David, is actually a human resource professional. So he has discussed, has asked a question that can protect the human resource. So my question will be to Mrs. Akako. And basically, this question is for we non-HR guys. The question is, how can the HR professionals protect the rights of employees in cases of bullying? So situations whereby we notice that we're being bullied, or we feel like the human resource are not doing enough, how do we come into that situation? How do we hold the HR accountable for what they're supposed to do or what they're not doing?
Okay, oh, you're calling the HR out, right?
Yes.
Anyway, it's the HR responsibility, right? So every employee needs to be protected. It is very, very crucial. It's, you know, the HR it's very, very important that the HR team protect everyone, because if it be you, that's why I always say if it be you, so regardless of who the person is, right, the HR is expected to protect them. And how can this be done? It's by being fair. It's by being fair and ensuring that the environment, the whole atmosphere is free, is safe, is clean. People can breathe. They are being safeguarded. Everyone's right is being protected at every time. So it starts from communicating it. Communicating it. This is what we stand for. These are the things that we hold of very, very important to us. Right? At all times, let everybody know that it's zero tolerance. It is clear, even before you get onboarded, even before we even give you a letter or offers, it is clear, it's zero tolerance, it's well communicated, no gray area. And after even you join us, continuously, we mention it. We mention it, and it gives people, every other person, their reassurance that yes, okay, I can breathe. They are sure that even when if I say I'm not fine, this is what I feel, I can be, it is taken seriously. And when anybody reports any case, they are also protected. That regardless of any circumstance, nothing would touch them. You know, it's ensuring that everyone is safe. They can report it. They can talk about it. And any complaint, regardless, big, small, is taken seriously. There's no petty complaint. There's no petty complaint. Every report is well investigated. And when people are complaining, when people come to give their report, listen, is to listen properly without bias. Take note and action it. It's to be at all time, because everybody can say, I'm being bullied, you know, as EM rightly explained, you know, is it really bullying? The investigation to be thorough, fair, conduct it to really say this is the issue, and this issue is being addressed, regardless of who the person is, because you are doing other people a favor. Because out of when you have thousands of employees and it is only one person that wants to disturb the whole effort, that wants to disturb the whole peace of the people, then it's safe, it's wise to just pick that person out and attend to that person and help that person. And nothing is left undone. Immediately, once it's really reported, not that, oh, we'll schedule it next week. Immediately. And in my previous place, we call managers from other organizations to even share, you know, when we really need to do an investigation in this likely manner. We call fair people, neutral people that will not be biased to chair the investigation, so that everybody know that they are protected. So at all time, every complaint is important, is valid. Every feeling is important. So when anybody says, "Oh, this is how I feel," and sure, okay, these are anti-bullying policy, these are anti-harassment policy, these are the things that govern us, and this is what we stand for. So it's not about you, it's not about this person. This is the heart that we are saying no to. Without fear, without fear or favor. So whoever is being pointed to, take appropriate action. Take appropriate action. Take appropriate action. It will help you. You have peace of mind. So there is no double standard. There is no double standard regardless of who the person is, senior, junior, young, old, new, at all times. And the documentation that one has mentioned at all times, let it be clear. This is what we stand for. This is what the situation will be. And it continues. Some people, they will say, I did not know. Even after explaining it from the beginning and ongoing, they say, I did not know. It's to ensure that, as the HR people, we continuously train, measure needs, educate it during town hall, during every opportunity. If this person said no, this is what it means no. And you cannot even do it all alone. Let me also mention it. You cannot do it all. Even the managers, they are the first HR. So most things, you can point at HR. Most of these things, right? It can even be well handled by the managers. Let them know what to even watch out for, the traces, the signs. So the HR can also train the managers to know what to watch out for. So when they see, peers with signs of bullying, they can quickly respond appropriately. And not just say, we uphold open communication here. At all times, let it be really open. And when there is an issue, when you are not fine, you are not fine. Mention it and be clear. And when it is being reported, ensure that we follow it through. It's for HR to be very, very proactive, fair. It can be you, so that's why you can know that if I'm the one that I feel this way, if this was me that was treated this way, this is what I will do. So be empathetic at all times. Ensure that everybody is safe. Due process are being followed, and so that the organizational integrity can be well upheld at all times. So it is the HR responsibility, not just about you to know what to watch out for, also to train the managers to know what to look out for. And when they see, they can quickly look at it immediately. so that in all the environment, the well-being of the people. So not just because of one person who will scatter the whole 1,000 or thousands of the employees. So if it is one person, if it is one bad egg, let us attend to this bad egg. Let us help this bad egg to be better, or to even remove it completely for the sake of the whole organization. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Toyin. So please, I want to ask that, is there anyone here who would like to share their experiences or also ask questions before we conclude the session? Is there anyone who wants to share their experience or ask any question before we end the session?
All right, David, thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so Ugo has raised a hand. Before Ugo goes on, please let's know that we are in a very safe place and we can actually discuss whatever it is we need to discuss here safely. In fact, there was a time I pushed out the idea of having what I call Professionals Against Workplace Bullying. That was a body I was trying to push then. And I think the only thing that stopped or that is delaying us from pushing that on in the meantime has been something around the legal framework and having a strong legal backing for such a move. But I think it's something we will really need to eventually push forward with in time to come. In the meantime, Ugo, can we have you, please?
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Ugo.
Okay, yeah, my name is Ugo. I work as a HR manager. I work in the oil and gas servicing industry, and I've been here for like 18 years. But I wrote in the chat box that I had experienced the first as in a personal experience on bullying and harassment, and it's unfortunate that it was from my direct boss, who is the group head, human resources. At some point, it made me, I became, when you talk about suicide, I was almost at that verge of committing suicide. You know, there's this thing in a workplace where there is this fear of loss of job, if you can get another one. And it was so bad that even the management is not doing anything about it. It is the HR herself who is the custodian of all these policies, who is the driver of all these policies, is the person permitting this crime. It was so criminal that people begin to lose their self-esteem and self-respect. She could abuse you in the open office, call you names, ask you to go to hell, and when you report to management with evidences, I was physically harassed. Like, she held my shirt at some point, she pushed me at some point in the course of doing this job. We ask someone for reports and we send reports, and okay, why are you not sending a report at 2 a.m.? You're bringing it at 2:10. Are you stupid?
Ugo, please, could you move closer to your microphone so we can hear you clearly?
Okay, sorry, okay. The use of bad words, names, name calling, useless, stupid, idiot in the workplace, and it is the HR herself who is the custodian of all these policies, is the one doing all these things, and it affected me so badly. So workplace bullying and harassment, I think it should be enacted as a criminal offense if it's established and there are evidences against it. I'm telling you, people are really going through a lot in this organization, and because you don't have anyone to speak for you, or these ones are in high places and they could talk to the owners of the business and you'll be thrown out like a trash. People just go through things silently, and I really went through, at the point I had to just one day just drop my resignation letter and I just left, just for me to have a little sanity. That's my own personal experience. Thank you.
Wow. So sorry about your experience, Ugo. So sorry about that. I think that is something anyone should not experience in the workplace. I was just having a chat with someone and I was just telling them that the workplace is a place where people spend majority of their lives, right? It should not be a place you wake up, you want to go in the morning, and then you start thinking about it first, that should I even resume here today again? It shouldn't be something anyone should be subjected to, also should subject to. I want to ask Mr. Emmanuel Michael, sir, is there any, do you know of any law in Nigeria today or anything in our labor law that directly criminalizes or that speaks about anti-bullying in the workplace?
So there are several ILO conventions, just that I can't remember the specific numbers now, but there are several ILO conventions that talks about workplace practices, which will include harassment and bullying. So what I would say is the best way to treat situations like that is, one, to try to address and exhaust all the internal mechanism for addressing grievance within the organization. When that is not sufficient enough, like this person now who said they resigned and all that, you also have the right to seek a legal redress. So I saw the example, someone was talking about police and what have you. I think that's completely different from when we talk about workplace. Workplace issues, the Ministry of Labor is empowered to come in to investigate something like that. You can also take your case to the National Industrial Court. They're also empowered to look into things like that. So those are the avenues that are available for you to be able to address when it concerns workplace, okay? Workplace issues, bullying, harassment. So those avenues are available. You need to exhaust them. So saying that there is nothing on ground, there is something on ground. And I know there are people who are taking advantage of these. If you take a look at that Microsoft case where a particular lady said her manager was always harassing her, which led to some sort of constructive discharge and all that, you know. At the end of the day, the National Industrial Court found penalized that particular company and this particular manager. And there are several cases. So if you search through the Nigeria Industrial Court or National Industrial Court website, no, there are judgments that they publish. So maybe use the word harassment, bullying to search. You will see several cases that will come up that pertain to this particular subject. So now my okay, so I can see Abegunde now is sharing something, yeah, with regard to that. Yes. So they exist. So don't say they don't exist. They exist. They exist. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. So, Emmanuel Abegunde, did you just quickly want to share with us what you shared on the chat?
So what he shared is the ILO convention with regard to violence and harassment convention, C190. Yeah. And so, you know, for us in Nigeria, we are signatory to the ILO conventions. And so whatever convention that has been released with regard to harassment, violence in the workplace, it automatically will apply and we can seek redress. You can click on that link and then maybe show it to the audience. They can see what it contains, a very lengthy stuff. But let's try, as HR professionals, like I said, we need to keep upskilling, right? So this is one way to upskill, get the knowledge. And I said, you need to know the policies inside out. And so this is one document that you need to also know. All ILO conventions legally applicable to Nigeria, yes, because we are signatory to these conventions. Yeah. Thank you. Good. I can see it on the screen now. Good. That's it. Okay. So let's take advantage. Let's take advantage of it and not just feel that there is nothing in place. There is something in place. It's just that we don't know When we don't know, then we don't know how to go about it. But now that we know, we can catch it.
Okay, so sorry, I was sharing the screen and I was saying that we could all look at the link sometimes later when we have some time. And I was just going to ask that is there anyone else who is willing to share any further experience with us, or just in a minute quickly ask a question before we bring the class to a close? Okay, in the absence of none, I think I can hand over back to Michael and David.
Yeah, so thank you all for being with us today. And I want to say a huge thank you to our incredible panelists for sharing their insight and expertise and time with us. I must say that every of your contribution today has made this session valuable and engaging. And to everyone who joined us, we appreciate your participation and thoughtful questions also. Your presence is what makes these conversations meaningful. So we look forward to welcoming you back to our next session. And until then, let us stay curious and stay connected. Thank you, everyone, and have a great week ahead.
Yeah, thanks,
Thank you.
David. And if you're not a member of RoverX Academy yet, please do well to join RoverX Academy. We are dropping the link as to how you can join right now on the chat box. Is simply bit.ly/join RoverX Academy. So you can decide which of the academy you want to join depending on your career path. So you could decide to be to join, let's say, the Finance Academy, or you could decide to join the HR Academy, or you could decide to join the Sales and Marketing Academy, or you could decide to join our Supply Chain and Manufacturing Academy. So we'll be excited to see you. We will be looking forward to having you around. The link is bit.ly/join RoverX Academy. And of course, all our faculty members, our panelists today, we want to say a very big thank you to you. I know what it takes to get you to give us 2 solid hours of your time. So please, just like our guys, Don Emmanuel Michael, please feel free to drop your LinkedIn profile so our people can follow you and learn more from you in the future. Thank you, everyone, and do have a lovely evening. Of course, we're going to share the recording in due time.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Oh, Ugo, you're raising your hand again? Someone else raised the hand just now. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you all very much. I've dropped my, what do you call it now? My
LinkedIn
URLs. So there are 2 of them. Feel free to click on them and you automatically follow me.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Enjoy your evening, everyone.
Thank you very much, Mr. Emmanuel.
Thank you, everyone. It was a great learning experience. Have a blessed week.
And you too, man.
Thank you, everyone, and have a beautiful week ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much. Madam Pudiko, thank you so very much, man.
Have a great week
My
ahead.
dear sister Toyi Akakbo, thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Our very
Thank you.
top.